and responsible role of focusing on the ground reality of what is truly happening, and the crowd today shows it all, ma'am. So now I welcome our volunteers to give the token of appreciation to our and our respected panelists.
All the delegates present here. Today there were supposed to be 5 speakers, but unfortunately, Indian Sadokpon was supposed to speak on the critical issues in reconciliation. They're stuck in Guwahati and could not make it. So we have, because we feel that if Rani leaves the place, then the hall may be empty. So she is with the
Purnamapu Kok Nona Laundry Nasigi Moderator Biriba Yamunimai, retired IS officer and social activist. Sheikh Nurul Hassan, Honorable MLA, Khetri AC, indigenous people ki activists Biriba Asan Kasar, Rami Desai, Agi Mangdalenjan Biriba, Professor Swayam Loki, social activists Mingweno Panbida Rasu Ngarang Dagi, Nasi Pauba, Adum Yobiriba, Loinana, Tungda Lepiriba, Ozasing, Mangda Sip Mari Mangadi, Laibnina Dum Okopai Togiba Yaganin Kali. Aduga, Tridok Handogna. 2 days discussion on democracy, dialogue and coexistence, Manipur University na Siliba Asida Pawayauna Amadi Masigi outcomes in a bigger doriba impact Kayada Saru Yabigani Haidana Lengiriba research scholars in Satra Satri Amadi social activist Punumapu Aina Amkhana. In fact, the topic which I have chosen to speak is related to reservation policy and its outcome. Because we remember when 3rd May happened, Honorable Home Minister was in Guwahati distributing job certificates maybe in the 2nd week of May. It was reported by him that the issue, Manipur issue say nothing but ST demand committee na thon bani haina haiba play. Masi me amning beramani ko. Aina haiba na chadi I'm quoting. I'm not an expert, legally very competent in the field of reservation policy. Adunate. I would like to share my experience on the basis of what we encounter as a teacher. When reservation policy ki matangda way back in 2015, aduda Manipur University da reservation policy si namarum peraga anpa makhal gi irang amathoi, and then property mayama makagmai thadana khotana tawkhibagi matamdu that time I was the General Secretary of Manipur University Teachers Association. Adudaina field tawkhiba potune. At the same time, as a head of the department, akoina reservation policy se lakpasida field tawjabasindu I would like to react, and let us try to connect Manipur da leiriba ngasigi issue siga reservation policy ga mari laina dabra haise mase koi naina bun changi, because this aspect is less focused now in the media. Initially it was there. Practically how it might also add oil to the burning fire. Adugumbagi thazabang kailai. Aduna, I get it, this is my individual opinion, not and expertise observation. Adumaina lobio, ID logi maranda kanguduna chari. However, as a common man, why creamy layers? Why not creamy layers to the SC, ST and other categories? Ngasi Manipur da lairiba imbalance over ecosystem se kadai dagi no. We know that kanano da Manipur da laiba opportunity loiba IS, IPS mayam se kanano karamba category de lai. Makhoi sing se moi ki macha dusu adum sorry Asankasa our honorable activist is there. Chumni hairagadi let us discuss. Lali harigatu akoi how we can rectify the lakse. Why this kind of imbalance opportunity? Why there is lack of equal kind of opportunity? Si lakpasi Manipur sigi khudong chaba lobra harigadu. When Manipur sagi peace rally chapa matam da initially akoi gi indigenous tribal forum du lakpadu da. On the other hand, the one group, those group who plan to give us into na atopa ST group to pull laga against Maitai na ST demand committee sida ST panghita ragadi akiba competition da adu ki fear psychosis sama quote torakanda hana lejariba plan duga maduda chungjal laga policy ma sagal laga tawbodong na tawki basingdo adu mayam na feel to view. I am not going to speak anything. Ngasi su aikoina thengnaba matamda OBC gi de hojik satra gi admission haure hobasida OBC gi di every year moi gi akoi gi income certificate se submit to godam SC ST gu madadi once income certificate se issue to kragadi adum lifetime oil because moi da economy status na akoi gi adugi achoba kainoma pira kansida opportunity ma pidna lifetime opportunity pivasidi. Is it possible in democracy? Having question mamanda akoi gi reservation policy gi mamanda masa matonda self kanoto kiba issue mayam lai krabani ado haiba issue sing si aina Manipur gi hanak lairiba issue se da kidan relate to bayaba feel to bayaba issue ma leiba se as a human being equal we are born equal. My daughter can speak Assamese very well. Not only that, akoi bazar da leiba Marwari, Bihari mayam Manipuri se Maitai rom dagi hena segna ngang ngame maram de environment to dagi polakpa matamda akoi gi Maitai musa sing America da leikiba Canada da leikiba mayam ama dum yawe opportunity se reservation policy India da leiba reservation policies and what kind of havoc is being created among the academias, what kind of growth doctor ama engineer ama oibam tam so reservation ki category sina hojik ni pass over mayam se kamai to ge da 580 weraga di government quota phangani general approximate 600 whereas 170 180 phangasu sometimes category giving the engineer doctor tambada adumaina changa amina. Where is that kind of balance? Also the complete of the yaroi doctor tamaba engineer tamadana whatever penalty piragasu sahi ani hum detain toragasu course ni loirga laka adugumba mayam amasina oirakpa mami tagiba union home minister phawbana adom the thaido ibra consciously or unconsciously natraga iran se namdhanaba honagibra haibaduna that is another issue aduna masigumba issue sing sida kitang aina relate to jani badugi wani. I am not against STs, I am not against SCs for their reserve kind of thing, but how sina kramai to dana ikoi gi leibak se imbalance oiba afaba development scientist doctor engineer puthoko matamda kayam sauna mahanba pige haisene. Apart from this kind of present imbroglio in Manipur, hojik Manipur ta chathariba sigumba crisis sing ma se yaudabara haibadudi yawi na taga yaude haibadudi mayam khanbiro kadubagi damakta Myanmar gumba reservation policy later to the Manipur laga reservation ki take the Lauraga, both Hadaba Yahalame reservation policy Lauraga, how much they are enjoying. Whereas Manipur the high caste later Brahmin class powder, Sigi categories of Panda, the Kapaga Mapitarga, Lady Mayama, general class man. See why we are ignoring those things. Sigumba imbalance mayam se the sanara pasina ekoi Manipur ki political scenarios is so akaiba ma piba dong tawe. I won't bring those issues related to narco terrorism adugumba natraga kenoto budu da ai tawzara. However, what I feel is the right of the best is denied. Aphaba migi magi phangpham to pachakum to mase masi pidre haibase ne aina feel taws aduna therefore I'm emphasizing my point. Aduna aikoina the purpose of reservation in India si yengo matamda there are two main aims to provide reservation as per Constitution of India. There are advancement of scheduled caste and the advancement and scheduled tribe or any socially educationally backward classes of citizens. CB Constitution piri proposene aduna hojikti amuk kadore anubada economically weaker sections haise mamu hapchale adubu Article 15 clause 4, Article 15 clause 5 and Article 15 clause 6 ta yaudana leiba potune aina masi hojik Supreme Court ta case to bakanda so Supreme Court ki direction lei whatever reservation policy sina you cannot exceed more than 50% high value hojik when we are worried about the reservation policies in a Makada Leva, Pion, Gumba, Chokidar, Gumba, the policy making, whether the engineer, Gumba, the nation building the China contribute to River Sinduki, Kenoda Togudi, Aduna, Amani, Aduna, Makada Lega, British Nathanama Matanda, reservation policies, Karigi Thanamino. How did India, the British Nathanamiba, China, the Basing Adu, Tadubagi, Amuksu, government of Indiana, divide and rule down or political benefit, the Mata. Masi utilize to bra hai base achoba question ba nahi beba aduna atopa amadana masai adequate representation hai adequate representation of any backward classes of citizens or economically weaker sections in the services under the state Article 6 and 4 and Article 6 and 6 high riba Indian Constitution ki lairiba Article 6 ki opportunity se lawda aina haijarina Chhattisgarh da lairiba akoi community sing se economically backward President Murmu su magi adugum category da laiba mani adugo Chhattisgarh da lairiba Bihar de IS officer IPS officer kyam laigre muika maina lakhi haibase masi Thingabagi the Honorable Matamana Tarigi Siki Films in Laibano, I say, Nainadaba Yadaba, Posakamaka. Apart from immigrant migrants, Aduga India Hyperlevak City, Democratic Chapalevanina, number games, Adum Lakene. The number game to give Bhotki, Mayam Hojiktarisene, 2024 MP election se Lloyd Ripaude, Iran se name Hiroi or President Room Lay Hiroi, Laini Lairoi, this debate will continue. Howji Narang Maktada Nahan Makta Toibe, Iran says that Losan Ge Haragadi minute Numinini the Loyan Maktusan Bayaba, Adugumba, India, this superpower ne Haraga, Karigam Taudi noise, Naina Bayaba question Mayama, so I don't know. Aduna. The extent of reservations here, Masi in India, is provided in
Consolation, Reverend Dr. Wati Iyer. He and his team members visited several relief camps, interacted with inmates, and held extensive dialogues with the stakeholders. Dialogue is the only way forward to take the society from the unending cycle of violence. As India has been labeled as the mother of democracy, there should be always enough space for dialogue to bring an end to any conflicts, disputes and discords. There is no alternative to dialogue in a democratic and progressive society on Manipur. Dialogue is the only way forward, as dialogue brings mutual understanding to both the warring groups. One must put in all efforts to encourage and promote dialogues in a pluralistic state like Manipur, as conflicts, disputes and war cannot bring any lasting solution to our problems. So engaging in a constructive and relentless dialogue will lead us to empathize each other's difficulties, limitations, shortcomings and problems. The only way to resolve our differences and problems is to adopt the path of persistent dialogues. Let me cite a best example of how dialogues help religious harmony in today's world. Leaders of various faiths have engaged in the mainland people, the central leaders, playing many games, and our people are now jumping in the ditch, and we are fighting each other. We are fighting each other, and these people are clapping behind us. But we are more fighting again. They are more clapping again. So, what shall we do now? This is the main important things. Today is the Manipuri, or all the sections of the Manipur state, to come unite together and to discourse or discuss very, seriously how to do and what shall we do now. Let's not depend to the other states, let's not depend to the other communities, let's not depend to the other external force, but let's try to solve within ourselves. Then the world will appreciate us. But instead of solving the problem within ourselves, we are depending to others. That is the most dangerous things. Then the others are initiating all this dialogue and they are taking the advantage. When there is some initiating group between the two groups bargaining, that something, that initiative group is always taking, benefit something, or taking advantage. This is the natural activities. So if we depend the present situation, the prevailing situation in Manipur to solve the problem, if we depend on the other leaders, other states or the other countries or the other nations, then they will taking advantage. So let's try to defend ourselves. Let's try to protect ourselves, and let's try to solve the problem within ourselves. Then I think the world, the other nation will learn something, and the people, the leader, the politician, the government, those who are playing the game to fight Manipur and bring the divide and rule, they will learn something, and they will, afraid, and they will run away from us. Masi akhoi Manipur da khwaidagi laibak thiba haiba tare, wakhan waba haibasi karino hairukanda Manipur gi future policy karino, plan karino haiba akhoi leiteba. Akhoi gi roadmap amta ullo ne, akhoi gi vision amta ullo ne. Yes, we have many problems. Akhoi problem mayam di leire. Adubu Manipur gi roadmap, Manipur gi future vision asi sini. Vision for Manipur haiba amdang madu hana akhoi puthok seba. Madu ki punamak mina pemba pendaba maya madu karino haiba akhoi common roadmap, common vision a policy ama puthokadaba muhut akhoi puthopa ngamdraga amada akhoi na station ba lomda chakreba. Yes, kana kumbana thukai ningai kana kumbana phattaba wakhanda khalamba yai. Khalam sunu madu mayam changlaga akhoi na defend tawba tai. Maduna overcome tawba ngamgadaba leite. Tawgadaba bu as a Manipur akhoi tong koina laigadabani chahi kaya laimina rakhre hojik laimina ga doribani. Tawgadaba Manipur si ꯈ꯭ꯋꯥꯏꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯐꯕ ꯂꯩꯄꯥꯛ ꯑꯃ ꯂꯩꯉꯥꯛ ꯁ꯭ꯇꯦꯠ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯣꯏꯍꯟꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯚꯤꯖꯟꯗꯨ ꯀꯔꯤꯅꯣ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤꯅꯦꯕ ꯑꯩꯅ ꯍꯪꯖꯅꯤꯡꯕꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯂꯩꯇ꯭ꯔꯒ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯣꯏꯗꯕ ꯄꯥꯗꯕꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯆꯠꯇꯅ ꯂꯩꯔꯦꯕ ꯉꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯋꯥ ꯅꯠꯇꯦꯕꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯌꯦꯁ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔ ꯌꯥꯎꯗ꯭ꯔꯦ ꯊꯨꯒꯥꯏꯅꯤꯡꯉꯥꯏ ꯇꯧꯔꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯁꯤ ꯌꯦꯁ ꯌꯥꯏꯅꯦ ꯃꯗꯨꯗ ꯌꯥꯎꯗꯕ ꯅꯨꯡꯁꯤꯕ ꯂꯥꯟꯗ ꯌꯥꯎꯗꯕ ꯊꯨꯒꯥꯏꯕꯗ ꯌꯥꯎꯗꯕ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯃꯌꯥꯝ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯅ ꯀꯝꯃ꯭ꯌꯨꯅꯤꯇꯤ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯦ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯜꯂꯒ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯟꯁꯦꯟꯁꯁ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯄꯣꯠꯇꯨ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯗꯔꯀꯥꯔ ꯂꯩꯌꯦꯕ ꯃꯗꯨ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯟꯕꯗꯨꯅꯦꯕ ꯏꯝꯄꯣꯔꯇꯦꯟꯇꯨ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯃꯔꯤ ꯃꯉꯥ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯜꯂꯗꯤ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯊꯨꯒꯥꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯉꯝꯃꯣꯏꯅ ꯑꯗꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯗꯤ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯟꯕꯒꯤ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯃꯔꯤ ꯃꯉꯥ ꯄꯨꯟꯁꯟꯕꯒꯤ ꯍꯣꯠꯅꯕꯗꯨꯗꯤ ꯊꯝꯂꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯑꯃꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯣꯃꯣꯠ ꯇꯧꯕꯤꯕ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯆꯠꯂꯦꯕ ꯗꯤꯐꯦꯟ ꯇꯧꯔꯁꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯂꯩꯕꯥꯛ ꯀꯟꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯏꯟꯇꯤꯒ꯭ꯔꯤꯇꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯁꯦ ꯑꯐꯕ ꯂꯩꯄꯥꯛ ꯑꯣꯏꯍꯟꯒꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ ꯂꯥꯟꯅ ꯌꯥꯔꯣꯏ ꯅꯝꯕꯔ 1 ꯄꯣꯂꯤꯁꯤ ꯑꯃ ꯆꯪꯒꯅꯤ ꯚꯤꯖꯟ ꯑꯃ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯇꯥꯏ ꯀꯂꯦꯛꯇꯤꯚ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟ ꯀꯂꯦꯛꯇꯤꯚ ꯑꯥꯏꯗꯤꯌꯥ ꯑꯃ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯆꯪꯉꯦ inclusive ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯄꯣꯠ ꯑꯃ ꯆꯪꯉꯦ ꯑꯗꯨꯅ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔ ꯀꯥꯏꯍꯜꯂꯣꯏꯁꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ ꯑꯦꯅꯤ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯔꯤꯂꯦꯇꯦꯗ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯔꯤꯒꯥꯔꯗꯁ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯒꯤ ꯔꯤꯂꯦꯚꯦꯟ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯇꯣꯄꯤꯛ ꯑꯦꯖꯦꯟꯗꯥ ꯏꯁꯨ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟ ꯂꯧꯕ ꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛꯇ ꯏꯟꯚꯥꯏꯠ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯇꯥꯏ ꯊꯥꯅꯥ ꯆꯠꯀꯦꯔꯥ ꯔꯦꯂꯤ ꯆꯠꯀꯦꯔꯥ ꯇꯧꯒꯦꯔꯥ ꯂꯣꯏꯅꯃꯛ ꯌꯥꯎꯍꯜꯂꯣ ꯁꯦꯛꯁꯟ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯒ꯭ꯔꯨꯞ ꯑꯃꯅ ꯍꯦꯛꯇ ꯗꯤꯁꯤꯖꯟ ꯂꯧꯔꯒ ꯉꯥꯡꯅꯔꯒ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯆꯠꯁꯦ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯇꯧꯁꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯅ ꯇꯧꯔꯀꯥꯟꯗ ꯅꯣꯏ ꯌꯥꯎꯋꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯂꯣꯝꯗ ꯆꯠꯂꯣꯏꯒꯨꯝꯁꯦꯕ we need to discuss before we take up all these things ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯃꯗꯨ ꯂꯧꯈꯠꯇ꯭ꯔꯤꯉꯩꯗ very inclusiveness ꯑꯣꯏꯕ ꯄꯣꯠꯇ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ collective decisionꯗ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯗꯔꯀꯥꯔ ꯂꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯕ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯗꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏ ꯃꯅꯤꯄꯨꯔꯁꯦ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯐꯖꯕ ꯑꯗꯨꯒꯨꯝꯕ ꯑꯣꯏꯒꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯦ our leaders should not select or choose by the center over the other communities ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ leader ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯅ ꯈꯟꯒꯗꯕꯅꯤ leader change tꯧꯕ ꯍꯣꯡꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯁꯤꯗꯤ war ꯂꯩꯕꯒꯤ ꯋꯥ ꯅꯠꯇꯦ leader ꯑꯗꯨ ꯑꯩ ꯑꯣꯏꯒꯦꯔꯥ ꯃꯥ ꯑꯣꯏꯒꯦꯔꯥ economically weak ꯑꯣꯏꯔꯕ policy ꯐꯖꯗ꯭ꯔꯕ ꯂꯩꯄꯥꯛ ꯑꯗꯨ ꯁꯣꯟꯊꯔꯕ everything ꯗ down ꯇꯧꯈ꯭ꯔꯕ ꯇꯥꯔꯗꯤ we need to change the leadership ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯗꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯅꯦꯕ war prevalent situation ꯒ ꯃꯔꯤ ꯂꯩꯅꯗꯦ let's look the economic of the Manipur state today let's look the law and order let's look the all the activities which is taken by the departments and so on yengsiaba everything fell away both hills and the valleys and akhoi system aduna soirapa kanda de what akhoi da kari lae ngasai na haibado chingi mi na maram leitraga tapaki mi da blame puntaw da tausan khre tapaki mi na su maram du khandra chingi mi da blame puntaw da tausan khre but just if you are a Manipuri amma oibata please you go to Jasami please you go to Tunjoy please you go to Kamjong border please you go to the Tengnopa chatpiro ba Tunjoy da kanana leipang nglaga lege Tunjoy sing Manipuri warrior da adu da leibane imphal da lawbatu na nate ada Nagaland na police na encroach toru kanda no mai kam na ge haidana we thought the government state government support assistance Tunjoy people use themselves protecting the Manipur integrity please go and see chatpiro ba Nagaland ki police ka no mo challenge to na dan lay ba Jasami the border kana na ngaglige Jasami people alone they are protecting the Manipur state integrity but here we don't know all these things instead of appreciating we are blaming each other this is most danger you go to Kamjong my district my Kendra you go to Tengnopa who live in the border every day influx illegal immigrant changle about our people are fighting for that our people are fighting for the drugs karma but here we are only shouting no that's because of no good policy and the state governments just like the deaf dumb blind madu khangde akoina lot of memorandum submitted but till today government has not yet taken up all this the policies then to whom shall we blame aduna we akhoi se yamna concept kari haisira collective oiba policy thought idea ma akhoi targa le inclusive policy ama targale akhoi masenga maseng amaga ama thokat minasi mateng pangsi akhoi masenga maseng inthanaba soibadudi chumthokse aina soibra mana soibra chance piru ganda ma apologize tawsunu akhoi di mana du tawren heta akhoi gi maseng tawnaba mingonda di karisu tawbu ngamdaba to ganda kri tawbu ngamgadaba no akhoi gi 60 mla thakali 60 mla in the manipur semo policy semo law semo haibani case khara ora harawa haibnate masi aduna hojiki kanana soiba akhoi mayam soibisi yaureba ana hojiki war sidi karisu nate hen akhoi lause akhoi punbadunne maru oibadi let us unite together and let's have a common issue, common policy, common future vision for the state of Manipur. So Manipur will be never disintegrated. Madu haininge aduna aina haining badi akhoi leader akhoi na khansi ningon na khanaloi kumsi
identity while cherishing our multicultural multi-ethnic essence. Politics in Manipur must acknowledge and reflect the reality of our diverse population. Ethnicity plays a significant role in shaping political dynamics, although other factors like religion, economic, education, and ideology also bind our communities. To move forward, understanding, negotiating, discussion, the demands of different ethnic groups within the framework of democracy is essential. Regrettably, violence has become deeply ingrained in our Manipur's politics and tonight our collective physique. Dialogue and negotiation should be our chosen path, but violence has unfortunately taken or become a means to expressing our political demand. We must explore ways to live peacefully without resorting to any sort of violence. It is an unknown fact that the Meitei community comprises of 53% of the total population of the state. Other minorities communities such as Nagas, Kukis, the Meitei Pangans represent 24%, 16% and 8.4% of the state's representations, respectively. Till now, based on the available evidence, ethnic classes between the Meitei and the 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐄 community in Manipur. The immediate cause of this rising communal crisis, as widely alleged, seemed to be the order of the Manipur High Court, directing the Manipur state government to submit its recommendation to include the Meitei community in the scheduled tribe list. Regarding the present serious and brutal inter-ethnic crisis in Manipur, I am compelled to bring up some significant issues to be addressed urgently as part of the way forward policies, suggested measures, and the same are laid down below for immediate restoration of normalcy and peace in the state. Suggested measures, the way forward policies. We come to the crucial question, but we shall not hesitate to answer it unequivocally and to say that separation, which is the only solution to this heinous ethnic violence as allegedly claimed by the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐄 people, may invite more and more chores and cleavages and may create problematic towards the majority people of this state. Some allegedly claim that no other solution of the problem is possible. Some palliative may serve the purpose temporarily, but unless the problem is solved in a statesman-like way, it will worsen the position and create greater cleavage between the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐄 community and the Manipuris, especially the Meitei community, resulting in the disintegration of northeastern part of India. The first point is Manipur's population as per census figure since 1951 and 1901. Manipur's total population in 1951 was 5,77,635, consisting of 3,47,325 Hindus, 68,394 Christians, and 37,197 Muslims. In 2011, the corresponding figures were 28,55,791 total population, out of which 11,81,876 were Hindus, 11,79,043 are Christians, and 2,39,836 are Muslims. In 2011, compared to 2001, the Muslim growth was minus 0.4%, whereas the Christian growth was 7.3%. For comparison, Christians grew 30%, increased 17.24 times, almost 3.5 times of total population increased. Since 1901, Manipur's population has increased 10 times. Therefore, the Population Commission of all the communities residing in the state must be established so as to enable the state to identify the illegal or legal migrants or immigrants in the state. Until and unless there is a Population Commission, it would not be possible to identify all those illegal or legal migrants and immigrants in the state. Such a mechanism should be established in the state of Manipur on a priority basis. Number two, it is very much necessary to take prompt and timely action for immediate restoration of peace in the state while concerning the present ongoing ethnic crisis in Manipur based on the flight of the people grapple with the grave situation in the state. Number three, the territorial integrity of the state of Manipur should be maintained at all costs. As a supporter of the BJP-led government in Manipur, I plead that our party will not compromise on the territorial integrity of the state. Number four, no separate administration should be allowed at all costs in response to demand of any particular ethnic community. Any workable disruptions while concerning the state's territorial integrity should not be allowed. However, the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒 community strongly allegedly claimed that the recent state-sponsored ethnic cleansing program has irrefutably shown both to the nation and to the world that the tribals, in particular the 𝐾𝐈𝐒 people and the Meiteis, can no longer live together peacefully under one administration. Historical evidence shows that there have always been ups and downs while concerning the relationship between the tribals and the Meitei in the state of Manipur during the pre-colonial, colonial and the post-colonial period, as clearly revealed in the Saitharon Kumaba, the Royal Chronicle of Manipur, and other puyas also. It is recorded in the Saitharon Kumaba that as a part of the subjugation of tribes staying in southeastern hills, King Muyamba, who ruled during 1562 to 1597 AD, defeated Tosen village of 100 houses by capturing their chief Nashilo. He defeated the Moyan tribesmen, and Gails Mithun were taken as booties. Many villages, including Chakpa and Ningsen, were captured. Unlike other villages, the Anan villages defeated the king Muyamba, though they lost their chief Sintoipa. 𝐾𝐈𝐒 History of Manipur Pre-Colonial Period. It is written in volume number 1, National Publishing House, Delhi, 1991, page number 206. The Saitharon Kumaba mentioned the fact that the house, commoners or hill people of Manipur, chased them up all the way to Macau, hitting at the stern of the boats as they chased. They looted boats at Macau. The royal swords, shields and brass pots were lost. 10 royal ladies died. Sarojini Nalini Arambam, written in the court Chronicles of the Kings of Manipur. The Saitharon Kumaba, volume 1, Routledge publication, London, 2005, page number 63. The Saitharon Kumaba also mentioned that the king of Manipur, Muyamba, sent many expeditions in the southern hills, including Changbi, Lakonphai village on the Tuyai River, now in the southern hills of Manipur, bordering Sin Hills and Mizoram. There was a group of invaders called Tongang coming from southwestern side under the leadership of Hosam and Narang. The tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒 communities also allegedly claim that they are now away in the majority Meitei community dominated areas. Likewise, the Meiteis are entirely absent from the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐄 dominated areas. The tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐄 people have a strong belief that it would not be possible to stay together peacefully. Number 5, the issues of the poppy cultivation and narco-terrorism has often been brought into limelight for the present ongoing conflict between the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐄 groups, and they blame each other. It is noted that Manipur has been facing a drug abuse problem for many decades now. It has been widely accepted that there has been poppy cultivations and drug manufacture in the state. The query is simple but sometimes perplex one. Who is involved in the poppy cultivation and narco-terrorism? Who are the mastermind people who used to get involved and are patronized behind this heinous crime? This needs to be acted swiftly and identified on a priority basis to enable the state machineries to take further course of action. Yet it is further remarked that there is no absolute evidence of the involvement of only the tribal 𝐾𝐈𝐄 people in these commercial transactions and activities. There are further reports that other communities are also involved in these illegal business activities, including the hands of the big political leaders and social activists. Nevertheless, the Manipur government's bewildered mission on the war on drugs has not been successful on a wider scale. It is categorically successful in social media only. Point number 6, presently, timely intervention by the center with a resettlement plan of all the victims is an urgent need. An immediate resettlement plan for both the communities displaced in and outside the state of Manipur is our main agenda. And an immediate necessary action upon this serious crisis should be taken up. Plans should be executed for the resettlement of displaced members of both communities to their original places and location as early as possible. It is necessary to find out the immediate causal factors that trigger this unprecedented large-scale ethnic violence in Manipur and address the issues behind the communal classes that have been rocking the state. Point number 8, any politicians and leaders who are involved in such an ethnic crisis directly or indirectly, they should be dispensed with in the legal court of India. Suspension of operation, PAC signatory Kuki militant cadres should maintain the ground rules and should be restricted to their designated camp at any cost. Probe should be conducted to find out whether they are involved in the killings of civilians. Border fencing, with special reference to Myanmar, borders should be given a priority as it plays a crucial role for this current mayhem. It should be taken up as an immediate corrective measures. Accountability should be maintained as a part of the way forward policy for the state normalcy and stability. In one of the webinars conducted by the Church Auxiliary for Social Action in short CASA, held on August 20, 2023, Professor Sanjoy Hazarika, the well-known author, scholar, researcher, filmmaker, and journalist, who is currently International Director of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, talked of the maintenance of accountability while dealing with the present situation in Manipur. The grim and shaky situation indicates the accountability of police, intelligence agencies, the civil administration should be fixed. Even the media channel, which has become normalized habitually to promote the red herring from the conducive environment of their studios in the highly developed or metropolitan cities and Delhi NCR. Regions need to be accountable to all the people of the country. Bias and selective reporting should be erased at the root level, and an in-person reporting and information should be broadcasted for the general good of people and healthy journalism. It is the need of the hour to be amenable in all the perspective regarding the reporting of this ethnic riot. Reporting should not be done to suit the interests of one particular community, but it should be engaged applicably in the interests of the communities of the state of Manipur. Different layers of hard decisions at the level of the center and the state governments should be timely and swiftly taken up to book the defaulters as it sends any community or socio-political allegiance. It should be done on an immediate basis, which should be free from a bias and prejudice. Otherwise, it would further create any great cleavage between the two communities on a wider scale. A collective effort consisting of all the stakeholders should be established or set up as way forward policy for this ethnic violence. It is quite clear that the ruling outfit has to reach out to all the political.
Everyone, and good morning. It is absolutely such joy for me to be here amongst all of you today and to wake up in Imphal and know that I'm going to be meeting all of you. It is absolutely overwhelming to know that you've come on a Sunday, you've come when it's not really greatly pleasant weather. I'm standing in a good spot, sir, so I might take a few minutes more. but you know, I really am very grateful, and it really is very overwhelming. My joy to meet you is slightly maybe half-hearted, because I understand the circumstances that we are meeting in. These are not ideal circumstances, and the gravity of the situation, I can assure you, is not lost on me. But we must make the best of the opportunities that we have, and for this opportunity, I have Manipur University to thank. I have Dr. Noni for thinking of me and inviting me for this dialogue to thank, and to all the brilliant speakers I have heard over the course of 2 days. I have learned so much. But I think most importantly, the fact that I have this opportunity to be here at this very crucial juncture is supremely important to me, because like they say, when you share joy, joy doubles, and when you share sorrow, sorrow becomes half of what it is. And I hope that my presence here today is an assurance to you that my support and my commitment to this cause is unwavering. Apart from the support that, of course, you have of mine, I'm actually quite baffled, because I don't really know what I can give you, offer you, especially after I am a part of a panel of such luminaries. I can only learn from them, I can only learn from their experience, and their brilliant, brilliant ideas. I may not agree with all of them, but I am sure you will forgive me for that, sir. Chairperson, with your permission, I would now like to address the talk. The talk given to me today is what is the way ahead? This is a very, very complex question. And it's a more complex question for me, because to me, really the stakeholders of solution, the stakeholders of this land are the people who are standing here. You have the solutions, you know what the future should be, you know what you want to leave your next generations. But before we discuss what the way ahead is, I'd like to, and you know, I've been given this privilege to be able to address you, and you've given me this privilege of your time. So, in my humble capacity, before I address what the way ahead would be, I'd like to put in a little caveat that I do very often. Many of you who may have heard me before have seen this at the beginning of my talks or at the end of my talks, and I usually place it just so that I can let you know my position. And my position is that I am not an expert. I don't know everything about the Northeast. I don't know everything about Manipur. And to me, the idea of somebody being an expert is a sad idea, because that sort of indicates that there's a finality to what you know, that there's nothing more to learn. And with my years of commitment to my studies in the Northeast, which, by the way, is not supported by anybody, it's only supported by myself. With that commitment, I have to say that I'm just a learner, and forgive me for what you don't agree with me, and accept me for what I have to offer. The way ahead, as I see, for Manipur is not an easy one. It's not a short one. The road ahead is long and it's difficult. But I do feel that we have the wherewithal to withstand the times that we are going through. We have the wherewithal to come out with logical solutions, to come out with some sort of ideas that are common to both parties. But before I get into that, I want to address a few things. I want to take advantage of the fact that you're here. I may not be an expert, but I have spent a considerable amount of time. I've spent a considerable amount of energy. And I've spent a considerable amount of resources to know that there are anxieties. And there are a lot of anxieties that come across to me. Ever since this conflict started, I have had thousands of messages that come to me, if not hundreds, every single day. I have met representations from both communities. I have met people. I have been in dialogue. This is everything apart from the work that I have to do. I have engaged as much as I can. I have lived, I have breathed, and I have only thought about this, as have all of you. But in all of these discussions, there are a couple of strains that I have figured, and these strains come from certain misconceptions. And sometimes when you're within, a situation, maybe you're too close to the situation wherein that has an emotional impact, and I'm sure it does. But I'd like to clarify those misconceptions today. Ladies and gentlemen, the first misconception that I come across and I'd like to clear is what I hear very often from young people, older people alike. They say that we have lost the war of narrative. You've not lost the war of narrative. You have made the narrative. Today, the rest of the country knows more about Manipur than they ever knew before. You have risen like the phoenix rises from the ashes. You've made a bad situation maybe work for you. Today, the country knows about the unfair land distribution in this state, something that they never did. Today, this country knows about infiltration, and that infiltration today they've realized is not just from Bangladesh, but from across the state, from Myanmar and from other such troubled regions. That point of view has changed, and they've come to realize the impact of this sort of infiltration. They've come to realize the demographic change. How do I know this? Because I live outside Manipur. People are talking about this, people are writing about this. This has become even a part of the Delhi social chatterati. That says a lot. But what they've also understood, and I think that's really important, and this is, really, this has nothing to do with free speech, but they've also realized that you can't take Manipur lightly, that journalism cannot be peddled as propaganda, and that there will be consequences. And I think that is something very important, because that builds counter narratives. Number two, the other anxiety of that I've noticed across platforms is the fact that nobody cares, that the country doesn't care. Ladies and gentlemen, that again is a misconception. I have never seen the country talk so much about the situation in Manipur. I remember in 2007 or 2008, there was a low-intensity bomb blast in Imphal, in ISKCON temple, I think. The first time it showed up in Delhi was on page 2 or 3 a couple of days later. Today there are media channels that are running this for weeks, for months, and are continuing following it. And I think that says something about the interest that it has garnered. At least we are not being ignored any longer. The media channels also today have an interest in maybe looking at the situation deeper and understanding the nuances of it. That again, in my opinion, is a victory. But more than that, India has realized the strategic importance of Manipur. Many people didn't. You'll be surprised. We spoke about it loosely. We spoke about Northeast being very important to India and it being an integral part of our country and that it was ignored. But did we go into the details of it? No, we didn't go into the details of it. Did we know what was so important about it? No, we didn't know what was so important about it. But today, people realize the strategic value of Manipur, not just in the Northeast, but its strategic value to the future of this country. Manipur is not just the gateway to Southeast Asia. It is the golden gateway for India's future ambitions to be a balancing power between the East and the West. But beyond that also, the humanitarian impact that I have seen, I've always found, and forgive me for generalizing, but I've always found that our country has been a little hesitant in moving towards a little bit of relief work or giving donations. But this time when people heard that I was coming to Imphal, I was so touched. There was not a single colleague, a single friend who didn't want to be a part of the relief work. Everybody wanted to do their bit. And that tells me a lot. But there is one third and final anxiety that I've seen in absolutely everyone. Everyone who messages me, everyone who calls me. That anxiety is of maintaining territorial integrity. Again, ladies and gentlemen, now that it has drawn upon us that the territorial integrity of Manipur is extremely important, not just for other people, not just for the country, but because of the kind of attachment you have to the land of Manipur. That has not gone unnoticed. Therefore, the question of territorial integrity, in my assessment of the situation, any changes will never happen. And the reason it will never happen is because this nation realizes that today it's not dealing with just the territorial integrity of Manipur, it is dealing with the territorial integrity of India. And play devil's advocate. What is territorial integrity? If today you can't leave the valley and people from other places cannot come into the valley, what does it mean to you in the larger context? These are difficult questions that we must answer for ourselves. Territorial integrity just does not mean a legal bifurcation. It means so much more. It means the access, let alone you. I think most of you here would not advise me to leave the valley. And that says something very deep to me and very disturbing to me. But of course, this is a country that is known for its a state that is known for its diversity, its inclusiveness, and of course the country is known for its diversity and inclusiveness, and that spirit seems to be lost today. But let me also say this, that when we talk about diversity and inclusiveness, and it obviously has become a very popular topic to talk about, it makes us feel good about ourselves. Diversity and inclusiveness also has limitations. It also has to follow certain rules and regulations. And without the rule of law, diversity and inclusiveness can take a shape that is not going to suit any one of us. So therefore, what we need to do is we need to dialogue. Now, it's very easy, and I know my colleagues have given a great exposition on what should be done, but here's my problem with it. When you ask me, how do we go ahead? Yeah, simply I can say, I can say disarm, I can say disengage, and I can say dialogue. But who's going to disarm? Is anybody going to disarm? There's no trust. One party is going to say that, I'm not going to surrender my weapons until he does. The other person is going to say, I'm not going to surrender my weapons until he does. Yesterday we had a very interesting talk where somebody spoke about state responsibility. I agree with that. The state has to have responsibility and the state has to have accountability. But let me talk about individual accountability and individual responsibility. And I think that becomes the crux of it. How do we use individual responsibility? Because that's all we can do. How do we use individual responsibility in building the kind of trust that we need to go into dialogue? Disarming, disengaging, dialogue are second stage developments. Your first stage development is to be able to sit across the table, or at least to bring the invested parties to the table. That itself is a problem today. So there are very simple things that I've noticed. One of the things I've noticed that creates mistrust, that creates this lack of initiative to engagement, is the peddling of fake news. And I'm not going to blame one community over the other, but there is fake news that's floating around. People are quoting that fake news that is building certain sort of imageries in people's heads. And the kind of material that is going around, let me tell you, a lot of the talks, a lot of the debates, not many people are actually seeing the full thing. We might think that they're seeing the full thing. They aren't, and I'll give you an example of it. I get a lot of nasty ones, which I don't like so much. Sometimes I'm really, really happy to engage when I have the time. I don't have a lot of time to engage with everybody who contacts me. Sometimes I'm also a little mischievous, I'm a little bored and I want to engage with the ones that don't like me really a lot. And sometimes when I've done that because I can feel a certain amount of irrationality, I can feel a certain amount of pain. I'm no one to judge who's been through what. But I'll give you an example. The other day, and was very angry at me. I had been on a debate with this lady, and he said, "Oh, we didn't like the way you spoke, and this is very upsetting for us, and never show your face to me again." So I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll let the news channels know." So then he said, "But you're bigoted." So I said, "Why do you say that?" So he said, "I say that because you never defend us, you're biased towards one community." So I said, "Okay, why am I biased? Can you give me a couple of examples?" So he said, "You're biased because, you don't take our side and you don't think about our grievances." So I said, "You watch all my talks?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You watch all my debates?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." So I said, in every debate of mine and every talk of mine, I have said that we have to find common space and we have to seed space. It's not going to be easy, and we have to decide what space we want to seed. But that is the kind of temperament we need to come on the table with, and therefore if there are questions on development, if those are community anxieties, then we need to look into them. So he said, okay, but I don't like the fact that you don't care about our security. When those two women, that video released, it was terrible because you didn't say anything. I said, "I didn't say anything." On national TV, I said, not only should the people, the perpetrators be caught, but the observers and the people taking the videos should be caught. So he says, okay. "I don't think you should smile." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You should have seen the debater's face and it fell, and when you smile it looks like you know too much." I said, "Okay, I can do that. I won't smile if that makes you feel better." But I said, let me show you something. So I don't usually save the nasty messages that come from me, and I've not been raised in the manner where I can actually repeat what is said to me. I neither choose to make it my victim card, but yeah, I do take a couple of screenshots. So I sent the screenshots to him. And I said, "So you were talking about grievances, and you were talking about being bigoted, and you were talking about hate. It comes both ways. And the difference here is, I'm not pulling out the victim card. I'm not putting this, this diatribe together and putting it up on social media and saying, 'Come, save me. Look what a community is doing. I don't sit there demonize and generalize the characteristics of what may be just of the fringe element. I always give credit to the fact that we will always have fringe elements in all communities. And that's the reality of life. But that does not mean that the whole community is like that. Anyhow, that was my example of how social media works and how we really aren't truthful to what we are reading. There is intellectual fraudulence. Number 2, curtailing anger. I think you want to build trust, they're open-minded enough to want to listen to me. But I'm saying this to the general public that has gotten involved in this conflict. You know, one is pitted against the other, nasty things are said, women are targeted. It's completely unhinged. What purpose it solves, I have no idea. You know, nobody is really making policies based on the abuses that are being hurled back and forth. Complete wasting that I read on social media, everything that I read and, you know, the documents that are being sent to me is all about this one did this, that happened. Have you ever heard of the term the Gordian's knot? Gordian's knot. So the Gordian's knot is an interesting concept because it was put forth to Alexander, and it was this most complicated knot that nobody could unravel. And the person who would unravel it would be able to rule all of Asia, so as they said. Alexander sorted the problem out by taking his sword out and cutting it through. This is the need of the hour. You cannot keep going back and saying this happened, that happened. I am not absolutely saying that emotions don't run high and the pain is not real. But I'm just saying, if you're talking about the way forward, that way forward is not going to come from the past. It's going to come from the present, your actions today, and that is what is going to make you a roadmap that is strong enough to not give you artificial peace, to give you long-term peace. If you want artificial peace, many ways to have it. Have a dialogue, take out a document, say happy, 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 joy, joy, joy. Come back to stage 1, a year down the line, 5 years down the line. Because that is not really the issue. We have to take the bull by its horns. And how is that going to happen? Now this is what I want to say. The 3 areas that are really important is to disarm, is to disengage, and to dialogue. Now what does disarm mean? Disarm means giving up your weapons. We know that's not going to happen. But how is it going to happen? You want to put the responsibility on the state is not going to be able to do it because people are not going to be willing to surrender. For them, that is their anxiety. So what you need to do is you need to concentrate on the dialogue. These are all interconnected. You need to concentrate on what really is going to allow them to come to the table, build that trust and say, okay, even if it's one person. How many of us have tried that? It's difficult, it's inconvenient, and it's ugly because you don't know what abuses will be hurled at you. But you've got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to work the tough routes to come out in the end victorious. Number 2, disengage. What do I mean by disengage? You know, a lot of people say, oh, I was talking to this person, he doesn't see my point of view. My friends say, you know, one person called me up and said, you know, I called up a friend of mine and I asked him, you know, what are you doing? And he said, I'm hunting. I won't take the name of the tribe. You know, this sort of disengagement has to happen. If people are not going to be rational, there's no point. What are you going to do by convincing them? They're neither decision makers, they're maybe in pain and not in the right sense of their minds. So, you know, what is going to happen with that? Not much. So you need to be able to disengage, but you need to be able to disengage with the right optics. I don't think anybody is thinking about the optics. Now by optics I mean, if somebody was, let's say if somebody wanted to take a rally out, you know, it would make pretty good optics if the people that they were going to meet were possibly standing there more in a welcoming gesture than in an aggressive stance. These are the kind of optics that you need to focus on, because the world is visual today. You're going to write 300 pages of report, nobody's going to read it. You're going to put the right optics out, people are going to see it. But those optics also have to be hinged on positive foundations. Finally, dialogue. Now this is a difficult one, even for me, because how do you dialogue? If there's no trust, if we're not letting go of the past, what are we going to do? We are going to, like I said, have artificial peace. But not if we really get down to the nitty-gritties of it. You want to talk about, we put a curfew and we'll start small-scale engagement. It's not going to help. You need to understand what are the issues that are important to you. In my understanding, the core issue is the land issue. The core issue is land distribution, and the core issue 20 years from now is going to be the same thing if it's not resolved today. And when that happens, I don't think the situation is going to be like this. It might be far more prolonged. So when we are going into dialogue, we go into dialogue with some amount of realistic base, with some amount of understanding that we have to cede space, but the other also has to cede space. We have to find common ground, and we have to find common ground not because, with this feeling that, we are letting go of, what is important to us. No, common ground, keeping the long-term future in mind. You can keep thinking about short term. You can keep thinking about what's going to happen in the next 1 month. Now there's relative peace. No, now there are skirmishes. No. The answers will come from your understanding of what you want long term. And like I said at the very beginning, nobody knows that better than you. But if you were to ask my humble opinion, I would say start with land reforms. Understand what your land reforms are. Understand the legalities of it. And other communities will have to find common ground to understand what this means to you. Because 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I can tell you Imphal Valley is probably going to be unlivable. And if you're going to start thinking about long-term plans there, it might be too late. But apart from that, I did talk about the Gordian knot. Make a clean start. Make a clean start based on common concerns, based on the fact that you have this unique culture that has always accepted diversity. That's what interested me about Manipur in the first place, that the merger of the kind of cultures that happen, it has never happened anywhere in the country where mergers of cultures and religions was completely peaceful. There was always resistance. But in Manipur, it created a greater hybrid culture. In the spirit of that, in the memory of that, is what the dialogue needs to happen. But let me make it a little bit more pinpointed. And of course, we can discuss this later, and we can discuss this in detail. But my moderator, sir, here is very strict. So I don't want to give him any opportunity to interject. So while I'm closing, let me say this. I think it is important to consider that if the problem is development, then the answers have to come from solutions that address development. Not separate states, not territorial change, but development. And how does that happen? It happens, and honestly, I don't know how the whole dialogue has changed, because that seemed to be the concern earlier on, and now the concern seems to be something else. But if that is really the concern, then our incentive has to be development-based. And development, initiatives can be very easily taken, let me just throw the suggestion out there, maybe, giving more powers to ADCs, maybe some amount of legislative power, financial power, let people be answerable to their own decisions and choices. Let that happen. But this is a decision for you to make. I don't have a stakeholding in this state. The second thing, I think, and I have to say that these suggestions that I'm making have come out of discussions and deliberations with other people as well. So this is not just, me brainstorming and saying this is what you should do. But I think it is also important to be able to have populations in areas that, today may be completely isolated towards only one. Maybe that can come through, and again, this is just a suggestion, can come through with the creation of maybe special economic zones in places like More and other areas in Churchandpur that will encourage people to come and settle there, that will give employment, that will give some sort of incentive. And who should be against that? Anybody who has the best of Manipur in mind, anybody who cares for the future of Manipur, cannot really have a reasonable objection to this. And if there is an objection, my friends, there is a problem. Finally, I think the problem is how open-minded we are. How open-minded we are to say that, okay, the past is the past. We can entertain these ideas based on the fact that, it is for the benefit of the state, and at least it begins a dialogue. But ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, I want to say this, that this dialogue, and in solely my opinion, can only happen with the understanding of and with the foundation of the fact that dissent cannot be anarchy, that propaganda cannot be termed as journalism, and that finally privilege cannot be bigoted and one-sided. So with that, my friends, thank you very much.